After the Amazon rainforest, there's one big other wilderness left in South America. It is called the Gran Chaco. It straddles 4 countries: Bolivia, Paraguay, Argentina, and a tiny part of Brazil. Like other rainforests, its plants and wildlife are vital to maintaining the Earth's balance. But escalating industry encroaching on the land threatens to upset that balance. Erica Cuellar, a biologist, is seeking to maintain the rainforest environmental equilibrium. She has made it her mission to teach the Chaco's inhabitants how to be conservationists. Correspondent Dan Collins accompanied the scientist as she made her journey home.
To gaze upon the Chaco is to enter into a state of wonder. An endless expanse of dry, thorny thickets where jaguars and giant anteaters still roam. It's not hard to see how the spines, which thickly cover every cactus, bush and tree, deterred farmers and ranchers for so long. But today, everybody wants a piece. Vast tracts in Paraguay are being turned into cattle ranches, and Brazilian soy farmers are buying it up as cheap land. At 1 million square kilometers, the Gran Chaco is South America's second great wilderness. And this part in Bolivia is the best preserved of all the 4 nations which are home to this enormous dry forest. The quarter which lies in Bolivia still looks like this, thanks to the efforts of the Guarani indigenous people of this southeastern corner of the country. More than a decade ago, they sealed an agreement with the government guaranteeing their dominion over this territory. And for almost 2 decades, biologist Erica Cuellar has dedicated her life to the Chaco.
I got in love with the Chaco when I first saw it. It was not because of the immensity and because of the diversity I saw, but also because this relationship with the local people.
A conservation biologist with a doctorate from Oxford University. She's won a string of prestigious awards for her work in this wilderness and with its people.
I believe that people is part of the natural, environment. They belong to this land, they use this land, and I think in terms of conservation of the biodiversity of this area, they must be involved because they are part of it. So if they are not involved, I don't see how we can achieve long-term conservation.
Cuellar's singular vision is to turn youngsters from the Chaco's 3 main indigenous groups, the Guarani, Ayorriode and Chiquitano, into scientists. It's just after dawn and the team have found some animal prints here in one of the track plots which they laid yesterday, prints of a fox. We're near a Guarani village, so a human population is close by, and so there isn't too much wildlife as would be expected deeper in the Chaco. But this is a valuable exercise for these young conservationists. Despite coming from 3 countries, Bolivia, Paraguay and Argentina, they all share the same Guarani culture and language. And they all live in the Chaco. Paraguayan Delfiliano Jimenez understands it's under threat.
The settlers moving into Chaco are just looking to extend their cattle ranching land by destroying everything.
Delfiliano and his companions are learning the tools of the trade as field biologists. Essential skills like setting up camera traps. Skills which will enable them to work with visiting scientists, while also continually monitoring the wildlife of the Chaco and the communities inside it. Each one of them has been nominated by the community for the 400-hour course, which covers basic biology to mathematics. Erica has even given a name to the newfound profession. Erica Cuellar wants to train para-biologists in the same sense that a paramedic knows how to save lives but isn't a doctor. She wants to train these local youngsters how to use the scientific techniques of a field biologist without necessarily having the academic background. Already qualified parabiologists have proved to be an asset to the conservation of the Chaco. Nicknamed Akori after a wise old shaman of this land, Florencio Mendoza told me in his native Guarani why he likes being a parabiologist.
We take care of our forest in order to protect our families and make sure they have enough food. We monitor the animals' population so we can hunt them sustainably. We don't want outsiders to come in and destroy everything.
Summer temperatures here can reach 45 degrees Celsius, or more than 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And on the winter nights we spent under canvas, it dropped below freezing. Every tree and plant defends itself with thorns. The Chaco is rugged, even hostile, and for Cuellar, that's part of its charm.
The Chaco, it's like a magic area. When you first see it, it's like it's empty, or it's nothing like the Amazon forest. You don't see this beautiful green, but it hides a huge biodiversity. I think it's so important because you have unique species, endemic species in this area. For example, we have 8 species of armadillos from 30 kilos to 300 grams. Teach you to be very humble as a scientist, no? Because you have to learn a lot about it.
Perhaps it's no surprise that this vast land is the only place in South America outside the Amazon where there are isolated indigenous tribes still living with no contact with the outside world.
One of the main objectives of protecting this huge area was to protect the uncontacted people living in it. The Ayoriode people have a few families still living in the heart of the Chaco. They are nomads, and it's fair that we give them the opportunity to continue like that.
Bigger than Belgium, the Cailla National Park in Bolivia is named after a Guarani phrase meaning spirit of the wild. And the relationship Cuellar has with this wild territory and its people verges on the spiritual.
It's not easy to work here for conservation because it's not one of the priorities of the government, if you want. But one thing, people who think that development is the first objective, they forget that without nature, without protected areas, they cannot have real development.
Just as the Chaco hides its vast biodiversity, Erica's conservation contributions have been concealed as well. But the award she's earned for her passion and commitment have made her hard to ignore. And her striking features have become the human face of one of South America's last wildernesses.
That brings us to the conclusion of our broadcast this week. We'd love to hear from you about our America's Now stories. Please write to us at an@cctv-america.com. Or you could send us a tweet. Our handle is @CCTV America's Now. Please join us again next week for another edition of America's Now. See you then.